It's going to be an awesome night of racing here. 8 races ahead of us, Vaughan, and the best yet to come. I mean, the daytime program, there was absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I'm just fired up by the fact that we've got the XLs, one of my personal favourites, first cab off the rank here, and that will just set the whole standard for what's to come over the course of the balance of the night. And earlier in the day, it was on in earnest between the 2023 and 2024 champion, Brett Sheriff and Carlos Ambrosio. Ambrosio made one overtaking opportunity work on Brett Sheriff to go into the lead late in the piece. It gave Sheriff one lap to respond, and he left his lunge to the very last corner and executed it absolutely beautifully, and he will start on pole position for this second race. Behind them, that was a good battle too between Zane Rhodes and Jack Caiulo. Dean Hill and Craig Charnley from the third row, Steve McGregor and David Charnley from the fourth row, and of course from the fifth row, it'll be Moore and Seaton, Tristan Moore, of course, on the inside, Nathan Seaton the outside. And of course, Wagner de Sousa, he was the hard charger in the opening race, edging out Harrison Beres there in the latter stages. It was interesting, Vaughan, we never got a chance to go back and check in with those guys around 10th, 11th and 12th, Seaton, Sousa, Moore and Beres. They were having a good ding-dong scrap, but it was just too hard to take our eyes off what was going on at the front.
Yeah, it certainly was. There was, I think, between Brett Sheriff in car number 514 and the current state champion in Carlos Ambrosio. So let's see whether that will continue into this race. Of course, our next 4 races on the cards are 15 minutes plus 1 lap. So we're going to do the XL Cup cars very shortly for Retrovision, and then followed by them will be the Holden HQs for electrical group training, and then we have our production cars, improved production and street cars over 15 minutes plus 1 lap, and that's brought to you by WA Hino, Pool Ledge Systems Australia, and then the finish off the round for Right Way Industrial Proprietary Limited for the saloon cars, and they were pretty awesome in their first race earlier on, or just before our dinner break as well. So lots of racing coming up. Don't forget, all of our drivers are still in the draw for the Competition Drivers Club Driver of the Day, and so far I'm kind of lending myself to Chris Reindler at the moment, although saying that, Brian Edson's in there as well, not only topping P1 in qualifying, but taking 3 from 3 as well. And on the same point, the same thing with Chris Reindler. He top qualified and also won 3 races as well. So anything can happen. 8 races to come your way here this evening from CARCO Raceway. And as you can see, the sun is well and truly gone. It is pitch dark over here at the moment, and lights are on. And we have all of the cars leaving the dummy grid right now. A huge field of Hyundai XL, as you would expect, Zach. We also have Dalels and Jamie McCanty moving around the pits and interviewing some drivers in between the races as well, so that will give us all the latest goss and information as it comes to hand through the evening. Just having a look at our CCTV cameras, it looks like we have some really good vision out there on the circuit as the cars are heading towards turn number 4 at the moment. Will be a little bit difficult to call in some areas of the racetrack, but I'm sure our camera crew from Turn 7 Media and Behind the Sport TV, they are all over this nighttime racing and getting some clear shots as the cars head up and over the top of the hill now on our live stream. Zane Rhodes will be one to watch in this one in car 73, starting from the second row. And in saying that as well, Jack Caiulo, if they can get a good start and stay with Sheriff and Ambrosio, it's going to be on. And, of course, out of P5 was Dean Hill, a former champion in the XL Cup as well. So the top 5, let's see what's going to happen here. You game enough to give us a winner, Zach?
Oh, no. Because we know what XL racing is like. I mean, if Rhodes and Caiulo make a good enough start, they can keep Sheriff and Ambrosio honest. But based on what we saw earlier, I think between those two, and Carlos will be looking to get one back on Brett, who left his run late but executed it beautifully. And of course, this would be to potentially deny Sheriff the chance at the clean sweep a little bit later on. What's also interesting too, Vaughan, 2 things that I want you to cover off for me if you can, mate. Firstly, You mentioned earlier in the day when the sun was starting to set that it was looking a little bit darker on the monitor than what it was at the circuit. It looks fairly bright from my perspective where we're looking at the moment down there as the cars are coming into turn 7, forming up on the start-finish straight. And number 2, these guys have had an exceptionally long day already. They've done a lot of sitting around and waiting with qualifying and race 1 fairly spread out with the late start of the program, of course, 12:15. But now they're going to have, 60, 65 minutes at max before they're back on the in-grid once this race is done. So it's pretty rapid fire from this point on.
Yeah, it has been, but that we're also working towards people as well. The Formula Classic guys had a very small turnaround between race 1 and 2. And then they finished off just before our dinner break tonight. So, it works both ways. You've got to take the good with the bad, I suppose. And the cars just forming their way around onto the grid at the moment. Just having a look at Charlotte Code's beautifully presented pink and blue car. And somebody coming straight up the middle here. I think that's going to be somebody in P6. Just pulling into line now. And that's one of the Charnleys. So very late to the grid.
Yep, that's Craig.
We'll wait and see now. We'll wait for the green baton to be waved. We've got rid of our flags. So don't forget, everybody still in the draw for the Competition Drivers Club Driver of the Day / evening. So green light being displayed, and the cars are running all the way down the main straight, right back to McCracken House, and an exceptionally big field of Hyundai XLs. Red lights on, revs raised, and away we go for the Night Masters here, brought to you by carco.com.au. Brett Sheriff, the best of the getaway from Ambrosio, and they got a good start. Zane Rhodes is 2 or 3 car lengths behind as they turn into turn number 1 for the first time. Taiulo still hanging tough in there in P4 at the moment. Dean Hill also in that gaggle of 5 cars as they head up through the bus stop section. A little bit of overtaking happening as they're going into the bus stop area as well. One of the cars midfield just gained 2 positions there, and there's a few guys looking for an outside run, which is fairly game at this time of night out here on a nice cold racetrack. And as you said, Zach, we may have a track record set tonight. It's nice and cool over here now. The breeze is still up there, but it has dropped off a little bit. But certainly the temperature has plummeted compared to what we had this afternoon.
The ambient temperature is plummeted, Vaughan, but the on-track is about to be red hot. And it's Brett Sheriff leading the way. Jack Taiulo was impressive. Trouble. Car in the gravel on the exit of turn 6. You can see the headlights. That will almost certainly bring about a neutralisation of this race. Unfortunately, we won't be able to put a number on that one until they come across the time to start finish straight. But we've got a car bogged at turn 6 on lap 1. And I was just about to say, Zane Rhodes has got back up into 3rd place, but Jack Taiulo made a fairly decent start. So Rhodes has been able to track him down on the run down the hill there, on the run back. Just start finish stripe, but still remain green at this point. It'll be interesting to see if Race Control do anything about that stranded car, or if that stranded car has been able to get out of turn 6. No, it hasn't. Safety car deployed. There we go. The race is neutralised for the moment, which works for Brett Sheriff and not necessarily for Carlos Ambrosio. It will allow Zane Rhodes and Jack Taiulo a second chance to have a crack at both Ambrosio and Brett Sheriff once they get back underway. Fairly status quo beyond that. Vaughan, Dean Hill in 5th place, then Charnley, Moore, McGregor, Sousa up into 9th place, and David Charnley 10th. Harrison Barrows is slotted into 11th. Then it was either Ward or Cove that's come undone on the run over the back of the circuit.
Yeah, it looked like it was Wagner de Sousa that overtook 2 cars on the way into turn number 2 and 3. Ooh. Having a look at our live stream, it looks like it's a yellow car.
And it looks like the front end had a little bit of panel damage done to it too.
Yeah, it's a bit deceiving to see who it actually is at the moment. I've got a feeling it may be Ward in car number 31, but we'll have to confirm that once we get back up and running again. Everybody heading down towards the safety car at the moment. Brett Sheriff is still hard on the gas. He's pulled right away from Carlos Ambrosio, but they're picked up by the safety car now in turn number 1, and this will condense the field. Zane Rhodes was fastest up and over the hill for the first time with a 31.4 compared to a 31.6 from Ambrosio and Sheriff. And then in intermediate 2, it was Craig Charnley in car number 51 who was the fastest by 1/100th of a second. And there it is, car number 51 of Craig Charnley, a 30-second time penalty to be applied at the end of the race. So I don't know exactly what has gone on there.
Maybe, would that be the penalty for a jump start, maybe, Vaughan?
I don't know, mate. We'll have to wait for race control.
I have to get some clarification on that. That's a huge invoice to pay, and that will severely compromise his run in race 3. The recovery work down at turn 6 looks like it's going to go on for another lap or so. So I really sincerely hope they refueled the safety car during the dinner break.
Yeah,
it's had a few laps today.
Got word from Motorsport Australia Race Control. That penalty has been applied because he came up the middle of the grid, up to his grid position. So, 30-second penalty there for Craig Charnley, currently sitting in P6. And with a 30-second penalty, that's going to put him right out of the money in this one, unfortunately.
Pretty much to the bottom of the field, with the exception of the retirements that we're aware of already, including, Ferreira was an on-starter, number 84. And, of course, Cove and Ward are, it would seem as though there's 2 recoveries going on out there at the moment. We've only picked up 1 car, but the Cove entry has not come home either.
Two Coves running out there, mate. There's Ashley Cove in car number 111, and that's the car that you're referring to. But we also have Charlotte Cove out there as well in car number 17. Interesting enough, 3 15-year-old kids out there, and that is William Panizza, Charlotte Cove and Ashley Cove. Harrison Perez was our youngest driver last year at the ripe old age of 14, but he's now moved up into the 15-year-old bracket and is joined by those other 3 drivers this weekend.
And, of course, I got to meet young Harrison at the a couple of summers ago, and lovely young guy. One of the years when it came to XL Ray, then he's got a little bit more experience under his belt now, and of course he's also well versed in other disciplines of motorsport as well. Vaughan, I do follow his exploits on some. He's had great success in dirt track, but it's great to see him committed to another season in the XLs. It's unfortunate that we're stuck behind the safety car, but let's highlight how good it is that this is the breeding ground for the up-and-coming talent in our sport. This is now becoming a more common step out of karting, evidenced by your point about there being 3 15-year-olds out there. Start them young, mate. The other point as well, and we've got some blue flashing lights down there at this point in time. So all trackside recovery vehicles are down there, both inside and outside at the moment. So it's fairly hefty that swing job unfolding at this point. The other thing is, you mentioned the Coves, another example, the Charnleys. It's a family sport through and through, generation to generation, and it's not that's relatable in the XL paddock, but also the other categories right across the medium.
Yes, for sure, mate. Yeah, it is a family-friendly sport. It's common to see father sons or 2 brothers or a brother-sister combination. So, that will continue into the future as the cars come down the carco.com.au main straight and get our commentary position. It's still Rodeo Roads, Kaiulo up to 4th, Deakin Hill in 5, Craig Charnley second, he's sitting above here, currently in P6. Then we have more Steve McGregor in car number 2 for Napa Autos. Wagner de Souza, probably a big mover so far, but it was a very fast getaway. And as we saw in the earlier race this afternoon, Wagner showed a good turn of speed while he had the onboard race cam in his car. Having a look at our CCTV screens, and it is full of red and blue and orange flashing lights over there down in turn number 6. On the exit of turn number 6, which would possibly have a bit of an understeer on cold tyres, the concrete apron and into the deep, deep sand here at CARCO Raceway. All the cars over the other. 15. It's one lap. It will be interesting to see whether we actually do get a start in this one. Still have recovery vehicles down there in turn number 6.
You get the feeling, Vaughan, if we don't get a start, then this may well end up being declared null and void as well.
Yeah, that'll be the second one for the day, unfortunately.
It's unfortunate, but the nature of grassroots racing, isn't it?
That is it. I mean, it wasn't intentional. It was just one of those racing incidents that occurs. You see Zane Rhodes on our live stream just trying to keep the temperature up in those tyres. As I said, Zach, the temperature has really dropped. It would have gone down at least 5 to maybe 8 degrees already. It's going to be a fairly cool night over here in Perth, but that goes well.
Nice little bit of reprieve.
Yeah, nice cold, dense air. The cars suck in more air, and as with the Holden HQ guys, they'll be fettling around with their carburetors trying to achieve that 14.7 stoichiometric ratio. That is the optimum burn rate of air to fuel inside a internal combustion engine. And they can adjust that in several ways. And of course the timing on those HQs as well. They can advance the timing and try and get a little bit more out of the 6-cylinder 202 engine on board. However, if you do happen to advance the motor too much by turning the distributor, you can actually start blowing head gaskets. So with the nice cool weather, I think the boys will be cranking in a fair bit of advance into the Holden HQs.
Absolutely, they will be. Returning our attention back to the Retrovision WAXL Cup for a moment, you mentioned the probability or the possibility that we might see a lap record go this evening. One less chance to get that done now, because next time by, I think just based on calculations, we're going to be running perilously close to time certainty, which means that +1 lap factor comes into play. But if they're not going to get the safety car off the circuit before they get back to the strike, although here we go, we've finally got the safety car light there. We're going to get our wish, Vaughan. We're going to get our wish. 1, possibly 2 laps of racing here. Bring it on. All guns blazing, elbows out. Let's go.
So Brett Sheriff leads a huge pack of Hyundai XLs for Retrovision, the new sponsor to motorsport here in Western Australia. That is Brett Sheriff. The red light has gone out and away he goes. He's got 3 car links already over Carlos Ambrosio. And then we have Zane Rhodes in car number 73. Dean Hills managed to get in front of Jack Caiulo before they got to the timing marker. So that's a little interesting story that'll unfold later on after this race. We've got Craig Charnley in there in P6 at the moment, Moore in 7, McGregor at 8, Wagner de Souza in 9, and Dave Charnley, car number 4. They round out your 10, but they are streaming up and over the top of the hill and still exiting turn 1.
This and one more lap to go, folks. And it's going to be the case of who gets track position, who gets the tyres up to the quickest. That might be able to capitalise here. Ambrosio is keeping Sheriff honest at the moment. Zane Rhodes has punched out the fastest first sector of the motor race. He's right there with them. They've got Caiulo and also Hill. There might be a little bit of a question mark over that restart procedure. Coming calmly, you know, he's in the top 10 of the race, but he's got that 30-second invoice coming his way. Down the hill we go. Last lap coming up, ladies and gentlemen. It's a 3-horse race at the front. What can Zane Rhodes do? Ambrosio had a little bow peek out on the inside of Sheriff. Couldn't find his way through. 2.41 kilometres to go, and the 3-time champ could be 2 from 2 to start the season.
Yeah, Ambrosio looking very threatening on the boot lid of Brett Sheriff there. He's trying to make Brett Sheriff run really wide. Ambrosio runs wide as well, taking Zane Rhodes with them at the moment. And Zane Rhodes set the fastest time up and over the hill last time through with a 31.2. So that's a 0.3 of a second quicker than the previous attempt at starting this race. These top 2 now are starting to pull away from Zane Rhodes, even though he's putting in some flyers. Brett Sheriff now goes fastest up and over the top of the hill with a 31.26, Ambrosio a 31.28, and Zane Rhodes a 31.46. So he's lost 0.2 of a second there, and that's cost him maybe 2 car lengths as they head down into turn number 6. Already out of turn number 6 is Brett Sheriff by 2 car lengths as they crest over the top of the hill for what would possibly be the final time. There's a run down the inside from Ambrosio. So we got Sheriff on the outside. Ambrosio slips laps up the inside. The over and under is on here for Brett Sheriff. A drag race down to the checkered flag, and it's going to be Carlos Ambrosio that takes out a win over a hard-charging Brett Sheriff. Unfortunately, lost the lead on the way out of turn number 6 and down the hill. Zane Rhodes takes out third place. Jack Caiulo for fourth. Moore in car number 16 for 5. Dean Hill fades to 6. Craig Charnley, although finishing in 7, now has a 30-second penalty applied, so he will be out. Wagner de Souza moves up to 7th. Steve McGregor in 8th. Dave Charnley in 9th. And rounding out your top 10, young Harrison Perez. What a fantastic one-lap flyer.
Absolutely. Craig Charnley's got a lot of work to do at the start of that final race a little bit later on. We also wait to see the fate of Ward and Cove if they can rejoin the fold. One apiece between Ambrosio and Sheriff. We've got an ultimate showdown to decide on our hands a little bit later on, Vaughan, to determine round winners in this opening instalment of the Retrovision WAXL Cup for 2025. 0.06 the winning margin. That's why we love Hyundai XL Racing. They're the best. You mentioned the word, you used the terminology shopping trolleys earlier in the day. They're the best shopping trolleys in the world, mark my words. 0.3 back to Rhodes, who kept them honest. Caiulo ended up getting back by Moore and Hill in there for 6. That was a good run from Moore, the 16, getting up into the top 5. It will be interesting to see if he can capitalise on that going into the final race a little bit later on. Hard luck for Cameron Charnley. For Craig Charnley, I should say. Cameron, on the other hand, got back to 16th, so he's climbed back through the field, continues, heavily compromised by how long we're under the safety car for, though, Vaughan. The WAXL Cup, proudly brought to you by the great people at Retrovision and Liquimoli, also Motec Mechanical, Race Tech, and, of course, Nexter, and Revolution Race Gear. And, of course, they are back in action for 12 minutes plus 1 lap a little bit later on this evening.